All right, before you get started, you're going to need at least 4 colors or colored pencils, a pen, and possibly a marker. So get all those things together if you don't already have them together, and take your blank periodic table that you got in class, and I want you to color your periodic table to look like what I have here so far. So pause the video and get these blocks colored in. Make sure you write the S block, the P block, the D block, and the F block. And then go ahead also and make sure you write these things right here in so you can see how that these bottom ones fit into the periodic table. Once you have done that, then get ready to play the video because we're going to label some more things on this blank chart. But this will just get you started, so make sure you hit pause, and then when you're done, hit play again. All right, on this slide, I now want you to label the 1S, 2S all the way down, the 3D, 4D all the way down, the 2P, 3P all the way down, and the F in the blocks of 4 and 5. And so make sure you label those and draw those arrows in. I'm going to explain why you're doing that in just a minute, but go ahead and pause the video and do that at this time. All right, on this slide, you've noticed that down in the bottom corner, I've listed what each one of those orbitals will hold: 2 electrons, the P holds 6, the D holds 10, and the F holds 14. And if you'll notice on the periodic table, each one of those blocks has exactly that many columns for how many electrons they will hold. So if you look at the S block, we know that it will hold 2 electrons, and so we know that the first one is going to be the S1, and then the second one is going to be S2, meaning the first column, which is where hydrogen and sodium and the etc. are, all of those are going to end in an S1. What that means is that the last electron that goes in will be going into the S1 slot. So depending on what period is, it's going to be going into 1S1 for hydrogen, next one is going to go into 2S1, and then sodium's going to go into 3S1. So everything in that column ends in an S1. And then if you go to the next column, everything in that slot ends in an S2. And so it would be 2S2 if you're in period 2, then 3S2 here, then 4S2 all the way down to 7S2. So if you can see where they are in the periodic table, you can see what that last electron is going to fill. If you look at the P, we see that it holds 6 electrons, and so this is going to be the P1. So everything in that column is going to be ending in a P1. So P2, P3, P4, P5, and then this last one is P6. Now you notice that this helium up here is different. It is colored purple like the S block, and that is because it is an exception. Helium is 1S2 is what it's going to end in. But it's stuck over here in the noble gases because it behaves like a noble gas in that it has a full outer shell. And so it does not react like noble gases. And then you can do the same thing. I want you to pause the video and just finish off. And D1 all the way over here to D10. And then down here for the F blocks, this is going to be F1 all the way over here to F14. So go ahead and pause the video and fill in the D1 through the D10s and the F1s through the F14s. Now that you have all of those filled in, let me talk about what you noticed here, where you see that this says D block and it says N-1, and you see that it says F block and you see N-2. So let me talk about that so you understand. And I'm sure you've noticed that this went from 4S here to 3D here, and you're like, wait a minute, does Miss Parker not know how to count? And I assure you I do know how to count. N is equal to the period number, okay? So period 1, period 2, etc., all the way down. The way that the electron configuration works is it fills the lowest energy level first. And we will be talking about that It's called the Aufbau principle, which states that you have to fill the lower energy level first. And so the fact that the S block has only 2 electrons to fill it, it will jump up after the 3p. It'll jump up and fill that 4s with the 2 electrons before it starts filling the 3d. And that's because it takes 10 electrons to get that d full, where it only takes 2 to fill up an s orbital. And nature likes to do things in the least possible energy that it requires, and a full energy level is always lower energy than a partially filled, so it will go ahead and fill those 4 s's before it fills the d's. So it'll fill those, and then it'll drop back down and start filling the d orbital. Now the d orbital is in the 3rd energy level, okay? So you need to understand that. And then after it does the 3 d's, it will jump up and fill the 4 p's over here. Okay? When we get to the f's, though, it gets a little bit more complicated. Notice that the f is n minus 2. And if you notice, although we have 4 f's, they don't show up until the 6th period. And so they work the same way in that it's n minus 2. So if the period number is 6, then the first set of f orbitals are the 4 f's. And then period 7 is the 5 f's. Same thing, requires more energy, so we fill these lower ones first. Alright, so now that you have this table all filled out, that is going to conclude this part of the lesson. I know right now you're looking at this thinking, oh my gosh, what does all this mean? But I promise you when we go over it in class, it'll make a lot more sense, but it helps to already have this filled out. So make sure you have this done before you come to class tomorrow. So stay tuned for the joke. Well, I was going to tell you a joke about sodium and hydrogen, but then I thought, nah, I won't. So in honor of Halloween, I thought I'd give you a few Halloween jokes. So first up is, what is a mummy's favorite type of music? Well, rap music, of course. What do you call a witch who lives at the beach? A sandwich. And lastly, what did the skeleton say to the vampire? You suck. All right, see you in class tomorrow.